Joe and I met in New York. We both moved to New York kind of around the same time in the 1980s, early in the 1980s. And we've been playing music together for over 30 years. And about 8 years ago, somehow through the internet, I met on an email Balázs. And he seemed like he was interested in meeting us. So we had a concert in Austria near Hungary, and Balázs came, and that's the first time that we met him. And then we thought it would be interesting for us to start a band with Hungarian musicians because we're very interested in Hungarian music. I'm a big student of Bartók. He's one of my most favorite composers. So we came back to Hungary for the first time, and Balázs brought us in touch with Mihai, and we did a concert. And we liked it very much. That was about 8 years ago. And at that concert, Balázs met his wife, which is also quite interesting. And so we started this band, which is a mixture of the Hungarian influences and the New York influences. Part of that is, I guess, would be avant-garde, you know, but also just harmonic, you know, the history of jazz. That's where we sort of come from. And yeah, so we brought them to America once, and they're coming back in November, and we've been here 3 or 4 or 5 times, and we enjoy the relationship that we have with them. It's very, for me, it's very, very exciting.
Major influences in my life have been Leo Smith, Anthony Braxton, and a saxophone player we just toured with, Oliver Lake. So you asked about East Coast jazz, and since we're talking about this quartet, which is an international group with 2 Hungarians and 2 Americans, I'm discovering that New York and this quote-unquote East Coast jazz is becoming what I would call true world music. New York is full of people coming from everywhere in the world. There are musicians who've come there from Japan, from Israel, from Poland, from Hungary, from Russia, and all these influences are being mixed. I can hear it, I can see it. So one of the comments I'd like to make about quote-unquote East Coast jazz is it's becoming true world music, meaning everybody's involved in it. And New York is a really good example of that. The people who were big influences that you would consider avant-garde musicians are Leo Smith was a big one. I spent a lot of time studying with Leo Smith. I worked with Anthony Braxton for 10 years, and also Oliver Lake. These are Leo's a trumpet player, Anthony's a saxophone player, and Oliver Lake is a saxophone player. So these people are influences, and just being in New York with people who want to create exciting music and want to develop their own thing has been a huge influence. I would not be the musician I am today if I hadn't moved to New York and put my time in there with all of these great people who are dedicating their lives to making exciting new music. That's what I would call avant-garde music. It's what people are doing there now. It doesn't have to be quote-unquote inside, outside. It's about folks coming together to create something with good, positive energy, and it's happening right now, today.
Well, I don't live in New York anymore, but I was born in New York. I left there 12 years ago, 13 years ago, but I return every year. But like Joe was saying, I wouldn't be the musician I am if I hadn't have spent over 20 years as an adult in New York, being able to go hear great music every night, and then to be able to rehearse with all these great musicians during the day and be exposed to the energy that exists in New York. But as far as the term avant-garde, I find that term to be is not really relevant anymore. I just think of music as modern improvised music, you know. And depending upon where we are in the world, you know, we're in Hungary now, we were in Austria and just a couple of days ago, and in July we'll be in Poland playing with this great Polish musician. He's writing some music based on Polish folk songs. And it's going to be a combination of these kind of folk melodies and then more modern harmony and then a lot of improvising. So, you know, the term avant-garde is sort of like, it's, for me, is not really relevant anymore. It's more about expressing oneself in an improvised, between improvised and composed music, you know, finding the balance between writing music and then also being able to improvise as well, you know.
All of us are composers. Mihai is a composer, Balázs is a composer, Michael's a great composer, I compose, so we all contribute music. So what you'll hear tonight are compositions from myself, from Michael, from Mihai, and
Balázs.
from Balázs. So we share that responsibility of bringing music to the band. So you'll hear all of our influences, our American jazz influences, our Hungarian influences. They'll all be in the mix.
Yeah, and then it will be a combination of written music and then a lot of improvising and back to written music, and you know, it just goes, it just moves from one place to another, depending upon, you know. We needed a name for the band, and I felt like, you know, we come from the West, and Hungary is in the East, and we're trying to get rid of the boundaries. So, you know, it was just some concept, you know.
It just meant that Hungary's part of Eastern Europe. But the other question is even more relevant, I think. Today we did a workshop at a musical high school here.
The Bartók High School?
Right, at the Bartók High School. And Michael did a very good class where he showed Bartók's harmony and how it related to Coltrane and McCoy Tyner and the jazz that we grew up with. Michael did a wonderful elaboration on the voicings that Bartók uses and the voicings that jazz musicians use. So he drew a connection for everybody who was listening in terms of a harmonic concept. So this is where the some of the overlapping begins. So there is very strong connections between the music of this country, I mean all of Europe actually, and the music that comes out of you know, the East Coast of America.
We have a tour in America in November.
Right, they will come over to America and do a tour. And we may end that tour in Romania. We're actually discussing
a concert,
discussing with a promoter for a festival in Romania. So we will be together again in November in America for 10 days, 11 days, and then hopefully we'll end up in Romania.
Yeah, we really, I mean, I really enjoy this band. You know, this, for me, it's a special band, and you know, we want to continue it because every time that we play together, the music gets stronger, and I keep learning, you know, from what's happening on the bandstand, and you know, so we have about 5 or 6 bands that we play in, but you know, and we only continue the projects that we really like. You know, the projects that we don't like, then we don't do anymore. So
The magic was there the very first night, so it's just carried on from there. So
yeah. We always have a good time. Always.
The environment affects every performer. So
and the piano. For me,
right,
it's always about the piano.
Right, that's
if there's a great piano, the music is going to be much better. Normally, we only play on pianos. Tonight, we play on electric keyboard, but that's rare. That's unusual. And this afternoon, we played on a 9-foot Steinway piano at the school. So that changes the music. The quality of the piano changes the music for everybody, and for me, of course. But we always have a good relationship on the bandstand, so we will have a good time. And if the audience is listening and then we will react with the audience, and that will, make the concert even more interesting. If the people are talking, then it's a little bit harder. But I dedicated my life to it when I was 20 years old. That's over 40 years ago. I decided that this was going to be my life. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know how hard it would be. I didn't know the sacrifices I would have to make. But I knew that I loved the music so much that I didn't want to do anything else with my life. So, and then since then, I just I work on music every day, try to improve myself. That's all I can do.
Right. So it is very important for me to be serious about this. This is not a music that people should be involved in if they don't want to dedicate their lives to it. So that means a lot of practice, a lot of study, a lot of hard work, taking care of business. So this is all aspects of being a professional, and it's very, very important to me and to all of us, to me, Chaim, Balazs, and Michael as well. Because we live in America and they live here, we're not able to rehearse as often as we'd like, but when we meet, we usually try to get together before the tour or the concert start, and we'll look over some new music. But we have already been together long enough to have a repertoire and an understanding so that we have a place to start from. So we can actually not see each other for a year and come to the bandstand and know what music we're going to play and play it well and strong. And then maybe the next day we'll have a rehearsal. So rehearsal is important, but at this point we can do it without it.
A week before I flew to Europe, I sat down at the piano and I looked at my music and tried to think about some new music that I would bring over to the band. And then I arranged it for the band. And then when we got together yesterday, we rehearsed one of my new pieces, and we went over all the pieces from before that we needed to look at. And that's what we do. Because part of being a professional jazz musician in this day and age is you play with a lot of bands. You play with 10 bands, 20 bands, and every band has their own music. So it's constantly changing your mind when a new band comes and think about what music you're going to do with that band, and then so then now I'm in this band, I'm thinking about this band, and then, when I go home, I have another concert with another band, and my mind has to change, into that music. So you prepare yourself, for myself, I just prepare what music that I want to play, and I make sure that I have all the music, together, because we really can't rehearse. We rehearse on the sound checks. So the way it works is we come together, we go to the venue, and we check the sound in the room. When we do that, we rehearse. So maybe we have an hour or a half an hour. We had about an hour yesterday, and today we won't have any time, but we already rehearsed yesterday.
Yeah, we both have many projects. You need to be involved in a lot of different projects in order to fulfill your musical needs and your financial needs. Not one particular group, generally speaking, will be enough to supply the amount of work you need. So yes, we're all involved in many projects.
Yeah, you know, you look at a project as like a product, okay? A project is a product, and you can't just sell one product because the promoter won't buy the same product for another 3-4 years. So you have to have 10 products, and when you go back the next year, you say, well, I know you took this project this year, but now maybe you're interested in this product. And so, you know, that way you have like a menu of bands that you can sell, right? I mean,
that's pretty accurate.
That's what it's like, you know, and you try to keep all the bands at a high level, and, you know, sometimes you start a project and it doesn't work, and that's the end of it, you know, you keep going. But we have about 6 bands that we play in together, and then he has many bands without me, and I have bands without him, you know. So
it is our life, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a good life. I mean, we don't make a lot of money, but we have a great life. We do what we love. We meet great people like you, and we get to see beautiful places, and we get to play great music, you know, and that's, you know, I'm happy that I can do that, you know.